What's up, everybody? Welcome to Move the Sticks. DJ Buck, and as it's going to be on Mondays, I could not be more fired up about this. Our buddy Baldy's in the house. Baldy, what's going on, man?
I'm just sitting up here like in my own little bubble here, DJ. You know, third floor NFL Films. Nobody bothers me. I don't have any windows. I don't know what's going on outside. I'm just in my little bubble here, just watching these games and taking my little notes and making some videos, man. I'm having a good time.
This is sneakily my favorite day of the year, Buck, because we always talk about like the summer. We get so tired and sick of, oh, this might happen. This could happen. Hey, they might be this. They might be that. It's like, hey, actually, we got some games. We can actually hop on here and talk about what we saw.
I mean, that is a lot of fun. And I feel a little weird, DJ, because you kind of made me make a deal with the devil. So here I am over here dealing with a blue devil like that. You know, there's something odd about.
Oh, we're going to get into that. Like, I don't know. I don't even want to go watch that Illinois Duke game, Bucky. Like, that was so ugly.
We're leaning into this stuff or whatever, but it's good, man. My man Baldy going to break it down. Has all the stuff. It's going to be fun to have these conversations every Monday.
Yeah, and by the way, hop on Baldy's breakdowns too, because if you want to see some video, it's going to accompany a lot of the conversations we're going to have on here. Baldy's got it on. He's got it on Twitter. He's got it on Instagram. Baldy, I'm not a TikTok guy. Are you rocking this stuff on TikTok
Absolutely.
too?
If you're not on TikTok, you're not on social media.
Yeah, no, I'm not. Then I'm not. So you've got me there. So check out all Baldy stuff. It's fantastic. Yeah. Hashtag Baldy's breakdowns. Let's get rolling. I want to get into this stuff here. First game of the. It might shoot. I don't know. We're going to see a better game all year long than the Sunday night game we saw with Baltimore and Buffalo. Baldy, I'll give you the floor. Go wherever you want to go on that one.
So, I mean, look, I'll take the losing end of it in Baltimore because I'm not sure what anybody's supposed to do to stop this Baltimore offense. And so, like, I just went and I just watched the wide angle, and all he did was look at the safeties. Mm-hmm. Two safeties back, here comes Derrick Henry, right? One safety, like everybody up, trying to stop Derrick Henry. You got single high, here comes Zay Flowers. Like, they couldn't figure it out. And then if they try to balance it up, then here comes this pre-snap motion and misdirection, and there goes Lamar, 10 yards for a touchdown. And I felt like Buffalo was damned if they did and damned if they didn't. You know, I mean, like they didn't know what to do. And I feel like that's going to be most defenses this year. Now, 40 points wasn't enough to win a game. All right. But still, I mean, it came down, you know, obviously Derek feels bad about, you know, Ed Oliver gets the ball out of the ground. And on the ground, it was a difference in the game. But just from that standpoint, you go, how does anybody – and then if DeAndre Hopkins throws his hand up and he's just, you know, he's just got the golden sticky glove there, like you got that to deal with as well.
You know, it's funny you talk about Baltimore, and I think DJ and I have had this conversation about Baltimore. A lot of what we want to know about Baltimore, we won't know until the postseason, presuming that they get there. And I've said on here, my biggest question with Baltimore is, do they have the emotional maturity to be a championship team? In a game like that, when you're up 40-25, championship teams close that out, regardless of the Derrick Henry fumble or whatever. But there is hey, man, we need to finish this game out when you have this kind of championship pedigree. And for me, I am just wondering, because we've seen this iteration of Baltimore 4 or 5 years. When do they finally learn from all of these heartbreaking lessons to put it together? And in a game in which you can say they dominated for greater parts of the game in terms of their offense and being able to be ahead, to walk away with a loss, to me, it just brings that question up. When we see this team play for real and all the stakes are on the line, do they have the wherewithal to finish out the game like a championship squad should?
Yeah, I want to hit a little bit on what both you guys said, and then we can kind of spin it and get towards Buffalo. But on the Baldy point, Zay Flowers, to me, look, I know Derrick Henry rushed for 1 million yards in this game. I know Lamar had some crazy plays. You see some of the scrambles where he's retreating. Poor guy, I felt bad for Joey Bosa. He couldn't get the guy on the ground. I mean, he had him dead to rights a couple times, couldn't get him on the ground. But you take Derrick Henry, you take Lamar, they're their own thing. And I don't want it to be just because it's gotten stale because we've seen so much of them. But, man, I watched Zay Flowers, and I went back through and just looked what he was doing, and that was the thing that stood out to me more than anything else on that Baltimore offense. You go through and look at just the balls and the targets, the opportunities he got, the different ways that he can impact you. You'll see deep ends. You'll see they use him on speed shovel. Let's get the ball in his hands. They hit a tunnel screen for a touchdown. You get him running on some of those mesh concepts underneath where you just pick a guy off by a millimeter. He's gone. I'm watching him going it's sacrilegious to compare some of these guys to all-time great players, but it's hard for me to watch a guy in a Baltimore uniform do that and not think of Steve Smith with the way he can stop and start and how explosive and dynamic he was. But I want to give Zay Flowers his love because I think he's going to have a monster year this year. I thought to Bucky's point, I thought they got vanilla at the end. I want that ball in Lamar's hands. I mean, they just kind of ran the ball into the line of scrimmage and ran into a mush of bodies, which was kind of the opposite of what they've done all day long of making Buffalo have to think and react. They kind of dumbed it down at the end of the game. And we talk about whether they should have gone for it on fourth down or not. I'm okay with it. I mean, shoot, you don't get that. The game's over. You're already darn near in field goal range. But I just thought it got a little bit stale there. And then on the other side, getting to Buffalo, Baldy, we were talking before we came on, like Justin Herbert's unbelievable. Justin Herbert can make a bazillion throws, and he's got the size and the arm strength and the talent. Like for Justin Herbert to go to the next level for the Chargers, he needs to adopt some of the borderline cockiness, arrogance that Josh has for some of the throws, Baldy. These are throws that people don't attempt, and he makes it with conviction. Repeatedly. Well,
the first touchdown of the season is to Dalton Kincaid. And the safeties are sitting. It's 10 toes in the goal line. Malachi Starks and Kyle Hamilton are sitting there, and they split the safeties, and he just rifles it. Like, most quarterbacks aren't attempting that throw in the middle of the field. And he put it right where Dalton Kincaid could body it. He did it again later in the game, down to the goal line. He's just fearless. And, I was saying, every single big throw he makes is off of movement until it's not off of movement, and he just hits his third step and he just rifles it to the sideline. The throw to Josh Palmer at the end of the game, over the top, to get him down there, it was an incredible throw on the move. But it felt like it was already a highlight film of the throws that he made yesterday. I must have counted at least 10 or 12 throws of 15 yards or more, where he's just it's just a rifle shot.
What's unbelievable about Josh Allen is not only the maturity and the evolution of kind of watching him go from being the wild gunslinger coming out of Wyoming to being an MVP who has been able to elevate the players around him. Because remember, he started on his ascension when Stephon Diggs were there, and they were relying heavily on him being kind of the centerpiece of the offense. He gets to the point where you remove Stephon Diggs, and his game has gone through the roof. He's always been special in terms of the athleticism and running and throwing on and off platform. But the last year and some change, he has been next level when it comes to his ability to put the cape on and use it when needed, and then sometimes just be Clark Kent. And I think what we want to see from all of our superstars is they don't necessarily have to play at that level all the time, but when needed, they can jump in the phone booth. And I am more amazed at Josh Allen's ability to do it in a calm, cool, composed manner. I would say probably than anybody else I've seen in terms of evolving from this wild playmaker to being a guy that can kind of play on and off the script and use his superpowers when needed. He's amazing. And his growth has kind of changed the way, and DJ, we've talked about this. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson changed the way that we looked at quarterbacks. It went from being Mahomes too. What they can't do too, well, they could. And it's just amazing to do that. So look, all the credit in the world to Josh Allen, because this dude consistently puts the Bills offense.
Well, Josh said it at the end of the game, Buck. He said, you never count us out. We were playing 60 minutes. Now, they're down 15. It's late fourth quarter, and here they come. I mean,
they needed a gift, though, Baldy. They needed a gift, and they got one.
They got the gift. They got the ball. That's 20, and they capitalized on it too now. But yeah, they got what they needed from the defense. But that's all they needed, and that was enough.
Now, so coming into this game, one of the topics we had talked about through the whole offseason was comparing Buffalo with the other, premier teams. And really, I think we focused in on Baltimore. And it's okay, we get the great quarterbacks, MVP quarterbacks, but man, look, the weaponry that Baltimore has just seems far superior to what they're playing with in Buffalo. And I come out of this game going, okay, Kincaid looks like he's got his legs back underneath him. He looks like he's a player I got super excited about when he was coming into the draft process. I'll get to him. Shakir, they've got a nice connection, and the toughness that he brings. He's like Amon-Ra St. Brown light up there. So that's a nice piece. But Keon Coleman's the one that I wanted to dig in on because he had the big game. So when I went back and just looked at his stuff, Baldy, This is a guy with a basketball player background, and that's the way he plays.
That's how he plays.
He's not the most refined guy, but you can throw a whole shot. He climbs the ladder, goes up and gets it, and gets drilled, holds onto the ball. You get the skinny post at the end of the game, which was really kind of the game winner. He makes a big play there. He just kind of finds space. He kind of works in space. You're not looking at somebody who's elite getting out of breaks and all that stuff, but you want to play soft coverage. I'll just run an out on you, and we'll go pluck the ball real naturally and smooth. But he's a key piece for them. I mean, he played really, really well, and they figured out how to use him and not ask him to do stuff he's not good at.
Well, he's excellent at low post basketball. You just feed him. He knows how to use his body. He knows how to shield people. He knows how to catch the ball with his hands. And so he's got, I don't think he's ever going to be a router, and he's not really going to run by people. But everything else, and he's becoming dependable. And they're going to him in a number of those big spots yesterday. He came up with a big catch.
It's funny.
Go ahead, Buck.
Last thing, I think we've talked about wide receiver core being like a basketball team. Every wide receiver core needs one player that's like a Keon Coleman, a big body ball catcher, someone that you just throw it up and they go get it. It's not always pretty and refined, but his superior size and athleticism and just terrific ball skills makes him a threat wherever he is. So even when he's covered, he's wide open.
That's a great point. Let's get to the next one here. This was the theme of this next game, Buck. Literally one man's trash is another man's treasure was literally on display in Pittsburgh. They take the two quarterbacks that neither team really liked all that much. They switched teams and they literally played as good as we've seen either one of those guys play. Fields maybe ever. That might have been the best game I've ever seen him play. He was awesome. And then Aaron, the best we've seen of him since he left the Green Bay Packers.
There's a saying that people will throw out there, go where you celebrate it, not tolerate it. And in both instances, both guys being acquired, they were celebrated by those organizations. And in celebrating them, they were willing to build around them and their talents. First, you talk about Justin Fields and how Aaron Glenn had firsthand knowledge about the difficulty and the challenge that Justin Fields can bring as a dual threat quarterback. And he wanted him to lean into those abilities. And pairing him with an old college teammate in Garrett Wilson, where he was comfortable in doing those things. We saw that play out throughout training camp and all of that. But then allowing him to be the athlete that he is, that was terrific. And for Aaron Rodgers, the conversations that I had with some of the people in the Steelers were, they wanted someone who had that edginess in the quarterback room. And they talked about this openly. It's a difference having a Hall of Famer in the quarterback room and what he brings and the swag and the confidence that they get from him being there, even though he's a lesser version of the four-time MVP. It's working for Pittsburgh now, just like it's working for the Jets. The thing about Pittsburgh is, how do you preserve Aaron Rodgers so that he is still playing great down the end of the season? That's the $1 million question.
It's interesting, Buck. I stopped the film at least 3 different times where he got absolutely tattooed. Quentin Williams hit him one time, and I just saw, it was like crash test dummy stuff. I just saw his head snap. And I'm going, that's 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers. That's not not many guys survive some of the hits he took in that pocket. And so, people can, put labels on Aaron and quirky, whatever you want to do. Like, that guy is as tough as they come now. Can he survive, the season getting hit like that?
Better help Broderick Jones to that point, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, Will McDonald had his way over there. It's an issue. It's an issue, DJ. They drafted Broderick Jones high, and they wanted him to be the left tackle, and he's there. Dan Moore was not good. They let him fly, but they got to get better at that position. No question about it. The Justin Fields thing was amazing. I saw him in a scrimmage against the Jets 2 weeks ago, and I thought, oh my gosh, poor Garrett Wilson. Like, he's never going to get the ball. And, they designed some offense, the first touchdown, deep cross with Josh Reynolds. They gave him good time, good protection, and he laid. That was a perfect throw to Garrett Wilson. A lot of guys missed that shot. He's almost too open, but he threw him open. Garrett really adjusted well. He had a great day. But I thought Justin Fields played as well. He was under control. He was athletic. He saw the field surprisingly well, breaking the pocket. It was very encouraging for any Jet fan to watch Justin Fields play yesterday.
I'd be fired up if I were a Jets fan. And this is a word that I've really honed in on here the last couple of years with quarterbacks. And I think there's really something to it. I mentioned a little bit earlier. he played with conviction. No, it's not only enough to see something. You've got to trust it, and there's no hesitation or no pause. There were some first read throws in there where he said, "Hey, this is the look I got. I like what I get. Boom, ball's gone on time." Mind you, first part of the game with gloves, second part of the game without gloves. I don't know why he switched it up, but it was nice. It went from the gloves to the no gloves. But then there were other times where, man, he was getting front side to back side, and then again, once he saw it, trusted it, boom, working in the middle of the field. He wasn't just working on the edges and the perimeter. Like, you get in the mud in the middle of the field a little bit, you got to trust your eyes and trust what you're seeing. And he threw the ball. It was firm. It was accurate. Like, it was as good as I've seen him play. And it reminded me of kind of the Ohio State version of him where he played with confidence. And that was, if he plays like that, and Baldy, you had talked about this a little bit when we were chatting this morning, and I thought it held up in the tape too. Like, Membu played well. Tippmann played well. Like, they've accumulated a lot of good pieces. Fashanu was outstanding at left tackle in the run game and the pass game. Like, they've invested a lot in this offensive line, and it looks like they might actually have one now.
Well, the question, honestly, this week was, okay, Olivier Tucker goes down. All right, everybody's like, here goes the Jets. But I thought I saw Tippmann play guard in preseason games with Josh Myers at center. And I thought at that time when I watched Tippmann, I think he's a better guard than center. Mm-hmm. And after watching him yesterday, especially the movement he got at the point of attack, and that's up against, Benton and against Hayward and some of those guys inside. Like, I thought Tippmann might be a better guard than he is a center. And Josh Myers is fine. So I don't feel like obviously there's a depth concern there. You lose a great player, it trickles down. But I thought Tippmann and Myers played really well in their spots yesterday.
Buck, real quick, I want to get to DK because, again, watching that, DK, not only did he make some explosive plays, there were seven explosive plays. DK had 3. Calvin Austin had 3. But you get DK's 3. Calvin Austin's 3. 2 of them are because of DK, where DK's running off coverage and taking bodies, and Calvin Austin gets loose. The other one was they lined him up, which is awesome play design in between the tight end and the tackle, and they kind of almost like an elevator screen in basketball. They kind of fan out. He gets up in between them, and they kind of hit him on a little almost mini wheel there for a touchdown. But I think DK's presence was felt in that game, not only when he was getting the ball, but just having him out there opens things up for everybody else.
It's funny, in talking to those guys during the preseason, like Mike Tomlin has openly talked about how they needed some guys with a little edginess. They wanted to get back to being the Steelers. DJ, you obviously are familiar with the Steelers, having been with the Ravens for so long. And we know that they're at their best when they have a handful of guys that I would say are wired a little differently than everybody else. And when I look at this team with DK Metcalf and the way that he is feisty and ferocious on the perimeter, I think about Aaron Rodgers and what he brings in terms of his temperament and personality. Jalen Ramsey coming over, making the big hit at the end. And some of the other guys that they've added to the thing, Darius Slay has a little bit of that. To me, even though they would say defensively they didn't play to the brand, the personnel, they look and feel like Steelers. And that makes them a dangerous team, provided they're able to stay healthy at some of those key spots.
All right, Baldy, feel free. You want to go good Washington? You want to go bad Giants? Your call.
Let's go good Washington because, the Giants kept it a game for a long time. And, the offense is dreadful. I thought Washington consistently moved the football. And, it's just good to go, to Northwest Stadium and just see that place jumping because it's been a while. But, Jaden Daniels, you can't – we'll never – I don't think we're going to run out of superlatives. You can't. Like, the guy is just so calm. He sees the field amazingly well. They dropped a lot of his passes yesterday. Zach Ertz dropped one, and McLaurin dropped some. They all dropped passes. But I thought he played spectacular. And then you look at the run game, and this guy, Bill Merritt, okay? Like, this kid, he popped. And he didn't start. Austin Eckler started, but this kid came in. And, you talk to some of the guys there, Adam George, whatever, they all said that he was the best back. And he showed it yesterday. His pop and his vision and his cutting was just elite. And so they got a good thing from the run game. And then on the other side, they were the 30th ranked rush defense in football. And it was a big weakness. And they went out and they got, they got a bunch of different guys that come in. And you look at what they did yesterday. Javon came in, and you look at, Dietrich Wise, like they added some bodies, and they played great run defense yesterday. The Giants, they couldn't score from first and goal at the 1. They couldn't score. Like, they won the line of scrimmage up front, and it was pretty impressive what they did.
When I think about what the Commanders are and what they could be with Jaden Daniels, I think about the weapons that they added, being able to have more firepower on the perimeter. You think about Debo, you have Terry coming back, but also you talk about Bill, little Bill, as they talk about him, being able to have that explosive element in the backfield and then putting it together. And I would say by no means was this like a classic vintage Washington performance, but you can already see the potential in terms of what they could be. And I just think, and I firmly believe, this division between Philly and Washington, like the arms race that is being created in the offseason and how they continue to play out, I just can't wait to continue to see the evolution of this offense and the maturation of Jaden Daniels. You always worry that second year, will they come back to the pack after the league spends the year kind of picking apart the game? I just kind of want to continue to see how does he counter the counters that are going to be used at him, and how does Cliff Kingsbury get him to continue to play at the high level that he's playing at right now?
Yeah, I mean, you guys are on it. I mean, Bill Krosky Merritt. It's one thing when you're like, okay, this guy accumulated some stuff. It's another thing when you pop on the video and you're like, oh, that looks different. Like that stop, start, and then just burst. Like he had big time burst. And I don't think it might already be here. He's their most talented running back. I don't think that's even a debate. And I think he's going to be their feature guy, going forward for the rest of the year. I'm excited to watch him. He's got a legit shot to be the rookie of the year. Like he could, in this offense with the weapons that they have and the quarterback they have and the offensive line that's upgraded, he's going to have an absolute monster year. Baldy, we were talking about it. I was watching 85 with Noah Brown, watching him block his butt off. And you go, well, peak Bates. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know Bates' number off the top of my head, but I think, is he 80? Yeah, he's 87. Yeah, he's blocking his butt off too. Like, it tells you the culture of a place when you look at how the receivers and the tight ends block. Yeah.
No, I mean, John Bates, number 87 for Washington, he's a great blocker. And Cliff, it's interesting, so Cliff comes out of the Big 12 and Texas Tech and never saw a tight end in his entire life. Now he knows how to use these tight ends. It's amazing how he's evolved and how he'll have, Zach Ertz out there. He's still doing his thing somehow. In his 13th year, Zach Ertz is still winning one-on-ones and scoring touchdowns. And, he's going to fall down as soon as he catches it, but it's just going to be in the end zone. But this John Bates is a great blocker. At the point of attack, they ask him to do a lot of different things. He's in motion. He's sealing, the split zones. He's really good at what he does, and they really take advantage of it. And so they got a strong side attack, whether it's Jaden Daniels or Krosky Merritt, whoever's running. And they ran a counter tray like Joe Gibbs would be really proud of, just thinking it's Russ Grimm and Joe Jacoby pulling on the backside. And, Bates got the key block on the linebacker, buried him, and Krosky Merritt scored on the play. And I just thought, like, where's the Hogs when you really that's what it looked like.
Hey, Buck, who's starting at quarterback for the Giants next week as we record this?
Look, man, I think Russell gets one more. Then eventually they're going to hand it to Jackson Dart.
I'll take the under on that.
Oh, okay. Well, inside information.
There's no inside information. I'm just waiting.
It's a feel.
It's interesting, Buck, before he answered, like yesterday, Ian reported before the game that Jackson Dart was going to have a package of plays for him. Mm-hmm. And I saw him down the field, and he didn't say no when I asked him about it. He didn't say yes, but he didn't shut it down by any stretch. And then he didn't get on the field. And I kept looking on the sideline going, how much longer are you going to watch this?
That's what I'm saying.
Russell Wilson,
especially as an offensive head coach. You're an offensive head coach. Yeah, it's brutal.
I mean, look, man, it's been like that, but they knew that when they signed him. And so it's one of those things, like if you are Dayball, like how long are we going to go with this? Because he was brought in and hired as a head coach for his offensive wizardry, but we're not seeing any of that. And the more that I see Malik Neighbors on the sideline getting mad and fed up and frustrated, like it's a lot to manage. And I don't know if Jackson Dart's going to be the answer to managing that, but it's an issue, and they got to figure out what's going to happen.
Well, it's interesting. So, Malik and Jaden Daniels are literally best friends. So, like, they can't, before the game, after the game, like, they're hugging. But, like, I'm sure Malik is watching Jaden Daniels get the ball to his whole fleet of receivers. And he's like, that's all I want. That's all I want is a guy that can get me the ball. And the only thing they can really do to Malik right now in this offense is throw jump balls to him, which he's great at. And he caught a couple, and they probably should have flagged a couple interference penalties on Marshawn Lattimore or, Trey Amos on some plays. It looked like it to me, but I'm sure Malik is just watching this. Like a lot of these guys, just give me a quarterback and get me a ball. Like we're down to a goal line. Like I should be scoring here. And they came and find him right now.
All right, Gavin just put in the chat as we're talking here that Ian had tweeted that Daboll announced Russell Wilson will start Sunday versus the Cowboys. I have not seen a tweet that said if he will finish versus the Cowboys.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I know he's not, as an offensive head coach who's in a gotta-have-it year to maintain employment, I cannot imagine he watches 4 more quarters of what he watched. There's no way. You start Russ, but if that gets
DJ,
no way he finishes that game.
Do you think that the conversation is being had with Kafka and Mara and the whole group over there, and they're saying, boy, if we make this switch now, this is a panic move? Or do you say the hell with the panic move? Let's give ourselves the best chance to win.
We got to be playing, and more importantly, this rookie quarterback needs to be getting better and playing well at the end of the year. So to me, if you look at their schedule, it is murderer's row. You can say, we're going to wait. Where are you going to slide him in? It's one freaking head knocker after another. So my thing is, okay, there's 2 things that you have to be, Buck, to get on the field as a rookie quarterback. And that is mentally and physically tough, because they're going to get hit because they're going to come after him. And then you're going to have failure. So to me, from what we know, and we spent time around him, I did all my homework on Jackson Dart. I know for a fact he passes the physically tough part of it. Yeah. And everything that I've heard about him and my interaction with him, I think he's mentally strong enough to be able to handle a little failure that's going to come his way. But get him out there, get him up and running so that by the end of the year, he's playing some good ball and we can all run this thing back.
Here's the thing. I think it all depends on how the conversation is shaped between head coach, front office, and ownership. Like if you have, I don't want to say assurances that you're going to be back and this is part of a long-term plan and process, then I probably feel better about putting the young guy out there to work through it. But if it's a mix of, hey, we want to work the young guy out, but we still are holding you to a standard where you need to win some games, that can be hard to pull off at one time, particularly against the murderer's row that you talk about on the schedule. This has to be an organizational decision when you decide that Jackson Dart is going to be the quarterback. And once he goes in, it can't be, we're going to pull him out. Once he goes in, it has to be a full commitment that we're all in on the Jackson Dart show. And our job offensively is to get him going. And we're going to try and win as many games as we can while we're working through some of those growing pains.
God, it's just so ugly what they're watching. I don't know how much longer they're going to want to watch that. So we'll see it. Hey, let's get to Micah Parsons' first game there with Green Bay. Look, we're talking about what we saw personnel wise, and that's kind of what we do on this show. But I got to give the stadium operations folks some love. Pretty cool when they had him introduced as the last guy coming out of the tunnel. Saw that little clip that was floating around. Pretty epic scene there in Lambeau.
First of all, he played 30 snaps. So, probably about half the action. A lot of them were pass rushes. And he looked like Micah Parsons in a Green Bay uniform. The guy was elite off. There's Penei Sewell over there, and he's beating him inside. And, he's getting into Goff's face, and he's throwing an interception. Evan Williams. Goff gets off the spot, and here he comes. Like, it's just, nobody's getting away from Micah Parsons. No quarterback is getting away from him when he's on the chase. So you saw a lot of that. But then, you saw in the game where Detroit was already game planning for him. They're already chipping him. They're already taking the guard and sliding there. And so here comes Rashawn and Lucas Ness, and they're eating a little bit. They want to rob the middle of the field, but, Jared Goff, that was offense looked awful. But I thought Micah looked excited to be there. Like, he's jumping on. I haven't seen him that excited in a while, but I think he was pumped to get out there and do this thing. I don't know how bad the back is. I'm not really, because it didn't look like it affected him at all. He looked like the same guy. Instant takeoff, beating some good players out there. They moved him around quite a bit. They rushed him over the guard. They rushed him right side, left side. So they had a plan for him. And I thought he had about 4 or 5 rushes that were outstanding.
I'm going to say this because we all have been tied to great organizations that I say are first class, so they have championship standards. Having played in Green Bay, what I get from Micah Parsons is there's a clear understanding of what is expected of him. And that might have been different than what it was in Dallas. Baldy, you played in Dallas. I'm sure Dallas now is different than Dallas back then. But what I do know about Green Bay, when you walk in those hallowed halls, everything goes back to those days of Vince Lombardi, even Curly Lambeau, about how you're expected to conduct yourself in that building. Micah Parsons talked early in the week about, hey, on the day off, I came in and there were so many guys here. I've never seen that. I can tell you in Green Bay, that is the expectation.
Yeah.
Like, they don't call that place Title Town for nothing. So I'm not surprised that when they did the intro and they called him last, part of that is to ingratiate him to the franchise, the community, or whatever. But it's also to let him know what the expectations are for him. On the field, look, man, Jeff Hafley, I knew he was going to have a thing, because when you are a vision and break, see ball, get ball defense like they want to be, when you get a pass rusher, the turnovers come in droves. And moving him around and being able to take advantage of his pass rushing prowess not only sets up those other pass rushers to get busy, as you talked about Rashawn Gary and Devin Wyatt and those guys, but in the back end, man, you talk about being able to squat and include a quarterback, knowing that, hey, 1,001, 1,002, the ball's coming out.
Yeah.
The Green Bay Packers became a title contender when they acquired Michael Parsons, because I felt like they're going to be one of the few organizations that could get the best out of him, because he has to comply to the standards, because there have been greater players that have played there before him, and he'll understand what is expected of him.
Yeah, to me, it's about what it does for all the other guys on that defense. It's literally like, I think about baseball. You acquired a 3-hole hitter at the trade deadline, is what you did, and now all of a sudden your 3-hitter gets to move down a little bit. And all of a sudden now your 5-hitters now hitting everybody's getting better pitches. And you saw Rashawn Gary in one-on-ones with Taylor Decker. And I'm not, Baldy, you own nicknames for players. We go to the Condor with Max Crosby. You go, Highway 77, Mekhi Becton. You're the nickname guy. I'm going to give you one free of charge.
Okay.
Rashawn Gary, his nickname should be Amco, because he is testing your brakes as an offensive tackle.
Okay.
And Decker's brakes were not working well against the power that he was facing. That was roller skates straight back to the quarterback. But there is a lot of power there. If we just put that video on Baldy's breakdowns and let's get the Amco thing, AA.
Okay.
So that was one thing. And the other thing was, if you haven't, I loved him coming out, and I haven't just watched a ton of him since he's been in the league. Edgerrin Cooper is going to be a major problem for people.
No doubt.
He's dynamic. He's explosive. You guards trying to get up to him, he dips and dodges. You can't get your hands on him. He's too sudden, too twitchy, and too explosive. So
reminds me of that game, when he was at A&M against Alabama, when it was just like he got him drafted. Like he did everything that day, but he took over the second half of the season last year, and he's on a good course to put up a bunch of tackles and make a lot of plays.
All right, let's go to the negative side of this thing, because a lot was discussed about Detroit. You lose both coordinators. What's that going to look like? What's the plan? So I'm just going to start. This is the area I focused on, Buck, and then I'll see what you think, and Baldy pick it up. But red zone, look, they lost the game by a couple scores, but you're 1 of 4 in the red zone. That's the story of the game. Green Bay's 3 of 5. Like, just do the math on that one. That tells you the whole story of the game. So they had 13 plays they ran in the red zone, 10 passes, 3 runs for Detroit. Let's go with the first time they're in there. They go gun, no play action, throw a flat route for 5 yards to Gibbs. They come back. They're under center. It's a run, no gain. That's where Edgerrin Cooper just beats the tight end on the backside cutoff. So now we're in third down. We're in gun. There's absolutely nothing there. There's no play action. There's no mesh. There's just swarmed and covered and smothered. There's nothing for Goff, incomplete. So that's their first one. They go to the second time they're down there. Gun, no play action, pass, throwaway. Gun, run, Penei Sewell, he gets beat. Mahogany gets beat. So you get nothing on a second down run. The third down, gun, no play action, no mesh. Goff just locks on. There's nothing there. It gets picked. So now we've got 1 failure, 1 turnover. We get to the third possession, under center. They go under center play action, but there's no mesh. There's nothing in that restricted space to create any separation. So they're just absolutely smothered. Under center, run, tackle for loss, 3rd and 16. They just dump one off to the flat. The only time they did anything in the red zone is the fourth quarter, minute 34. You're down by 21 points. They run 4 verticals. They dump the ball down, and then they hit Tesla in the back of the end zone, makes an unbelievable catch. But the game's over at that point in time. So I go back and watch last year. I'm like, what was the difference? I watched all their red zone snaps against Green Bay last year. I saw more shifts, motions, movement. I saw a tight end screen. I saw Amon-Ra St. Brown on an inside reverse pop one. It looked stale and static. It did not look creative. And it's 1 week, Buck. I don't want to overreact on the coaching side of things, but that was alarming what you saw from Detroit's offense.
Look, I'm not surprised. That's one of the things that was the biggest question, is why you couldn't pencil the Detroit Lions in as a prohibitive favorite in that division. When you lose both coordinators, you talk about Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn respectively, it changes the way this team is going to be, regardless of the personnel carryover. When you have John Morton coming in, who is a John Gruden West Coast disciple, and he's replacing Ben Johnson, who is a creative, artistic wizard when it came to that offense, it was going to be different. And I wondered how much pressure John Morton would have to match the creativity that Ben Johnson left, because that offense was fun, it was physical, and they had ability to morph between finesse and force. I don't know if he can match that, and we have to get used to seeing a very generic, very static Lions offense. And I just don't know. Personnel-wise, that's cool, but you have to have superior personnel everywhere to play vanilla ice cream type offense and win consistently in this league.
I've always maintained, since I was in Dallas and we lost a lot of great assistant coaches, Gene Stallings and Ditka, and some really good coaches, that it's more difficult to replace great coaches than it is great players. Now, that being said, losing Frank Ragnow and Kevin Zeitler, and just seeing Graham Glasgow will go over to center and then two new guards in there, like, they're just not as good up front right now. Now, maybe they get better. And Decker, they thought about replacing him a year ago. So they're not as good up front, where you might have the confidence to try some of these things and work some of these not gimmicks, but some of these things that Ben Johnson liked to do. It all started with the ability to win the line of scrimmage. Mm-hmm. And I don't know that they weren't close to doing that yesterday. And so I think that that's another thing to watch, is the interior offensive line play and how that affects this offense.
Yeah, it's going to be hard in that division too, with who you're going to see defensively. So look, it's one game. I'm not going to try and way overreact to it, but I would just use the word alarming. It wasn't great there for Detroit. Baldy, Tampa, Atlanta, great game. Yeah. What did you see in that one?
They lost Tristan Wirfs in the offseason. And so in the preseason, they had different guys playing left tackle. Well, for this game, they adjusted the whole offensive line. They took Graham Barton and played him at left tackle. They took Ben Breedis in their left guard. They put him at center. And then they put Michael Jordan in at left guard. And they played great. They played great. I mean, all the emphasis that Atlanta had on getting these pass rushers, James Pierce and Jalen Walker and, Leonard Floyd, their whole emphasis was, we're going to get to the quarterback, except they didn't. And Baker was like, the 2 touchdown throws to Ibuka are just absolute dimes. But he also had trusted his protection, and he did it from the pocket, and they were beautiful throws, including the game winner to Ibuka. That was really encouraging, that you could manage the offensive line, make the switches they did, and to play and not playing at all in any games together in preseason, and then putting that out there on the road in Atlanta in a packed house. That was encouraging. On the other side, Michael Penix, I thought he played great. Mm-hmm. It really came down to a turnover at the end of the game, but I thought he had him in the game all the way to the very end. In fact, he throws the ball to Casey Washington with 16 seconds to go. He's got it at the 5. It's in his hands, and Antoine Winfield came and just blew him up, and it became an incompletion. But he gave him a chance to the very, very end. And the talent, they lost Drake London's a huge loss, but the throws to Bijan, what he did, Kyle Pitts looked like he was involved in the offense for the first time in a long time. Casey Washington, I didn't know who he was until this game. It was a good NFC South game, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, good NFC South game. And I think we have to come to the realization that Tampa Bay Buccaneers have kind of cracked the code when it comes to dominating that division. They've won 4 straight division titles. They always kind of have a sense of how to win those games. But Todd Bowles and the job that Jason Light has done in kind of building up that talent, this is a team that's going to be very dangerous down the stretch. And when I think about offensively, what they were able to do, Emeka Ibuka, you have Mike Evans, you don't have Chris Godwin yet, but when they get those guys back, and that they're able to continue to run the ball. This is going to be a tough team because offensively, they're going to be able to control it via the run or pass. But defensively, what Todd Bowles does with all those exotic zone pressures, man, he gives you a headache physically and mentally with all the stuff that they do. This is a really good team, and they're going to fly under the radar, but they're going to be one of those teams that you're going to have to deal with when we talk about who's going to be in the Final Four when it comes down to Super Bowl contender.
I'm not clickbait. I'm not a power statement guy, but I know you've got a first ballot Hall of Famer at receiver. Micah is the best player, their best skill player on offense. Just watching what right now today. Mm-hmm. And to me, it's not only the trust Baker has in him, his ability to go get the ball, his ability to set guys up. To me, it was like tempo. Like when you get guys that know how to tempo routes in their first NFL game, understand how to let things open up, and then you see different. I was like, this is some different polish. Like that. And that's what they said at Ohio State. This guy's a pro's pro. Like he takes in information. He's going to learn every single receiver spot. He knows all the coverages, to your point, Baldy. So that was what blew me away from that, watching Emeka Egbuka. Baldy, we've got you for about 5 more minutes, so I want to jam through a couple more games.
All right.
And then if you're listening to this for the first time, catching us on a Monday, whatever game we don't hit here today, Bucky and I, we're going to clean up tomorrow. If we don't talk about it today, we'll get it tomorrow. But I don't want to just shortchange stuff because I love the discussions that we're getting ready to have here. Baldy, let's get to Indy and what they did. I mean, right. Maybe that was the biggest surprise of the week. The way
it was 30-0 at one point, and it was complete domination. But I mean, look, the Indianapolis Colts' first pick was Tyler Warren, and you can't watch that game and go, "This is Tyler Warren's offense." Like, first of all, I thought Steichen did a great job of just making things, like I call it paint by numbers, but Daniel Jones had very few reads to actually really make. He just had to drop back, hit his back foot, and throw it. And there was a guy open. Whether it was the first touchdown to Pittman, where Tyler Warren takes the safety with him and it opens up the wheel behind it. It was a great throw. But I just thought that Tyler Warren in the blocking from the opening drive, catching 3 balls in the opening drive right down the field, like he's so fiery in how he plays the game. Guys bounce off him. Like, he is an unbelievable target. He runs really well. He is a difference maker for that team. 3rd and 1. Here comes Tyler Warren on, the sneak up the middle. They used him to seal, to pass protect, so many different ways that they used him, and he was really effective. And, anybody that, if you guys have had a chance to talk to him, like he says 2 words, that's a lot. Like, he just lets his play do the talking. Like, he's just, and you can see it. He's having a great time out there, whatever it is that he's doing. And it opened up the whole offense to me.
It's funny you talk about opening up the offense. Daniel Jones gave us a little preview of what this was going to look like during the week when he talked about how Shane Steichen has a unique ability to make things very, very simple for the quarterback, very black or white. Yep. He gave him credit for not being egotistical enough to have this huge playbook, but he does the simple things better than anybody else. And he'll find a million different ways to run simple concepts that are easy for the quarterback. And what we saw was the best version of Daniel Jones in terms of being able to take this thing and get hot and get going. And never in a million years did people envision Daniel Jones having this kind of game. Yeah. And not only in a debut, but where he's a dominant player and performer. And so if I'm the Indianapolis Colts and I'm Shane Steichen, man, I feel great about what this is and what this could be, because Lou Anarumo and that defense is going to be much better than people think. And if they can get consistent production, I'm not saying 33 points a game from the offense, but if they get consistent production where they're at 24 to 26, they're going to win a lot of games, because defensively, Lou Anarumo is a wizard. He knows how to unlock the defensive personnel and the talent, and we saw that against Miami.
You got me to the defenses where I wanted to go. No-name defense has been used. I don't want to say that. But I would say when you're putting a scouting report together and you're going to play the Indianapolis Colts defense, I don't think there's that one guy where you're like, okay, we got to give all our attention to this player. What they do is they have a lot of really, really good players. So, in terms of how many true blue players they have, I don't know if there's a lot of those, but there's not a lot of weaknesses. And when you go through that tape and you watch Kenny Moore blitzing, playing with timing and instincts, you watch Grover Stewart putting the centers and guards on roller skates all day long. He's just a big, powerful, physical guy. Nick Cross, was active and physical in the back end. Latu's starting to come along. You're starting to see some of what they love so much about him come out of UCLA. Ebukam, who, by the way, I don't know if he's played for 50 teams, but I feel like every year I watch Ebukam making plays for somebody. but they all can run. They're athletic and they play really, really hard. And I mean, that was Tua
looked absolutely flummoxed in that game.
Well, their offensive line stinks. So let's start there too.
But for Tua not to feel those two backside blitzes that you talked about, Kenny Moore and Nick Cross coming clean and hitting them and getting the ball out on one of the occasions, like to not feel that or know that. Like credit Lou Anarumo is going to blitz the backside of Tua, but not to feel it, see it, like that just doesn't feel like Tua to me. And then once he gets hit, now he's starting to read the rush after that, and then he really got himself into trouble.
It was not pretty from Miami. We'll spare Miami our heat today. I want to get to two last things, Baldy, then we'll let you scoot. Two number one overall quarterbacks. I'll lead us off on the first one. Cam Ward making his first start. Look, you're on the road against Denver and that defense. That's a tough assignment, man. But I'm watching that. He's 12 of 28 for $112. He got sacked 6 times. He did not run the football 1 time. So those are kind of the numbers as they stand out. Yeah. When you watch the sacks, there's a couple of them of him just holding the ball. That's the speed, this adjustment of the speed of the game. You think about how many times at Miami he would be a statue. Like he would just sit there, feet in the ground with that great Miami offensive line. Yeah, that ain't happening here. So he's got to speed up his process a little bit. They got beat. I mean, gosh, Cushenberry got killed in this game. Latham, I think, was hurt. I haven't seen the update on that, but he was laid off the ball all the time. He struggled. But he had 3 drops down the field. I thought that the biggest takeaway watching him throw the ball was he made two plays on scrambles, but that's not who he's going to be or how he's going to be with this team. He's got to play on time. When he played on time, back foot, ball gone, he was okay. That's Baldy. I think that's just kind of the speed of the game thing for Cam. He's just got to get adjusted.
Well, there probably couldn't have been a worse defense to start with than against Denver. I mean, Denver had as many 5-man rushes as anybody in this business because they know they can hold up on the back end. Mm-hmm. And so all it takes is Dan Moore or or Cushenberry, somebody to get beat by Zach Allen or Benito, whoever, was winning the one-on-ones. And now he's under pressure. Now it's speeding him up. And so they are relentless. Vance Joseph does a great job, but he's got great personnel. Hufanga really showed up in that game, immediately. And so I just feel like, man, try to find a weakness in that Denver defense and then have the offensive line to be able to hold up so a guy can at least have 2.5 seconds to go find a receiver. He didn't get many of those opportunities.
No, he didn't get many of those. You knew Vance Joseph was going to dial it up. He was going to heat him up because that's all he knows. Like, this is a team that was at the top of the league and sacked last year. They believe in bringing pressure. They're relentless when it comes to it. And having a young guy, they were setting them up. I'll say this. Offensively, just got to see better ball security from Bo Nix and this offense. Like, this is a game that the score was much closer than it should have been. And that's because they turned the ball over. If they take care of the football and they kind of get to running the ball and Bo Nix is efficient, this Broncos team is built. And it just makes me think, man, the AFC West is going to be a head knocker. Because you talk about the Kansas City Chiefs being at the bottom, Pete Carroll working his magic, the Broncos winning, and then the Chargers winning. It's going to be tough.
I can see it
down the stretch.
I get to see them all here. So you got to see the Chiefs week 1 for the Chargers. We'll go play the Raiders. I'll see that game Monday night. And then the following week, Denver comes to LA. So the Chargers will get a taste of the entire division here to start us off. Last one, Buck game you were at, Bryce Young. Again, hoping that was going to be a step forward for him after last year. The Jags team that you work for and call games for, they kind of bottled up this offense.
Yeah, they bottled up the offense, but here's the funny thing: the score is not truly indicative of what it looked like. In watching it up close, the Panthers want to run the football, and Chuba Hubbard had it going. He was averaging like 5 yards a clip the first half. And then there was a turnover that kind of flipped the script a little bit, gave the Jaguars life, and they were able to separate. And then you had the long weather delay and all that other stuff. And so it just didn't fall in their favor. When this offense is at its best, Chuba Hubbard's running the ball. They're finding creative ways to get Bryce Young out of the pocket, on play action, boot action, and those things. Well, let me tell you something. All those opinions that we had on Teteroy McMillan about, I don't know, count me wrong on that. This dude is amazing when it comes to his hand-eye coordination, his ability to play big, looking like a natural number 1 receiver. If they're able to dictate the terms, meaning they can run on early downs and get to the play action where they can find Teteroy McMillan, and I have to say his whole name because his mom chastised me in the elevator about he's not Ted. He's not. Right. I want to make sure I call him by his entire name or T-Mac, whatever it is. He's phenomenal. If they can get that going, they have a chance. But right now, it was piecemeal. It wasn't clean. You just hope the operation gets better for that offense with Dave Canales.
Well, just to piggyback here, I mean, Liam Cohen did an unbelievable job last year in Tampa to unleash the running game. Now, Bucky Irving helped, but I thought the way that he runs it, the way that he attacks, I thought the way that offensive line played together up front, like Travis Etienne ran the ball as well as I've seen him run it now in a couple of years, maybe since his rookie year. And I thought they were really, really tight in their combo blocks when they came off to the linebackers, how they executed just running inside zones with them. I thought that was encouraging. It's a start. It's not the greatest, but I thought it was a good start for a team that desperately wants some toughness coming out of the run game, something that they had nothing going for it the last 2 years. So I thought that was a good start for the Jags.
Yeah, I'll wrap us up here on that one. That division all of a sudden, which you thought might be the worst division in the NFL, all of a sudden you look up and Indy does what they did, and then you look at Jacksonville, who look like they've got it going now with a new coaching staff and some fun pieces that they've added to the mix. Yeah, Houston, unless the Rams on the road, that's a really, really good football team. Houston's going to be good going throughout the season. So it looks like that division might end up being a little bit better than we initially thought. And then last thing on Bryce and in the Panthers. Yeah, no, I saw some good things from McMillan. Buck, I agree with you on that. My man Legette's got to freaking get his feet down, man. There's two big plays in that game where he catches the ball. He's got plenty of time. Get your back foot down. He doesn't get it down. Those cost him a couple. They had a couple other drops. I didn't think the box score wasn't pretty. When I watched the tape, I didn't think Bryce was as bad as the box score made it look. It could have been a little bit better there. So that was just
not as bad. Yeah, not as bad as it was made out to be. Like, it wasn't great, but like it certainly wasn't a terrible performance. Like, you can build off of some of the things that he displayed.
Yeah. So anyways, there's a lot more games. We'll get to those tomorrow on the show, as well as we'll recap our rookie draft from last week. We'll have our rookie draft for the upcoming week. And I did just find out we've got old friend Mike Mayock's going to join us on Thursday. So we'll have him on the show. Baldy, maiden voyage, man. I kept it 7 minutes longer than I was supposed to, but I love you.
All right, man. I will just put the fine in the jar.
Yeah, no, that's right. That's good. I owe you. Two Starbucks. All right.
I'll see you next Monday, man.
All right, Buck. As we kind of wrap this thing up here, other big picture takeaway you've got here from week one?
Don't overreact to anything that we saw in week one. You really don't know what a team really looks like until after we see about 4 games. I'll use our scouting tape where we take 3 or 4 games before we make evaluations on players. Same thing about teams. Some teams are going to start out slow out the box. Other teams are going to get out fast, but we won't know who a team really is until we get to the quarter point. So fans, don't freak out, but do know if you start at 0-2, the odds are long for you making the playoffs. So I'm saying don't freak out, but you don't want to be in the winless column for too long, because it will hinder your ability to make it to the postseason.
Yeah, I want to we'll knock out 2 more things here as we close up shop. And again, thanks to Baldy for joining us. I didn't get a chance to talk to you about the Charger game from Friday. So just 1 point on that. I mentioned Justin Herbert a little bit earlier, talking about how, like, I think he can get to where Josh Allen is. I think he can. And if he plays like he did in that game, he's there, just because that was some big boy throws, man, against that defense. And they've all of a sudden, you look up, and Chargers team last year that, was a little bit void of weapons, to the point where Will Dissly was their number 2 option in a playoff game. You look up and Keenan Allen's back, picking up right where he left off with Justin Herbert. You look at Quentin Johnson now as the 3, who's getting some advantageous matchups because of McConkey and Keenan Allen. And then all of a sudden, Trey Harris, this rookie 2nd-round pick, makes a play. Conklin's an upgrade for him at tight end. He makes some play. I mean, they got some firepower, not to mention you got a new backfield with 2 big dudes back there, including Hampton, who can go.
It's funny because it is an upgrade in personnel. And a lot of times, DJ, we talk about players and pieces and roles and how important it is to be cast in a role that suits your talent. Quentin Johnson being put in a role that suits his talent as a guy who is vertical thread, can do some of the things you talk about. Like, this is a guy that was an accomplished track and field athlete in high school. They have him in the right role. Keenan Allen coming back, being able to be the 3rd down playmaker, the possession receiver that just finds a way to consistently pick up first downs. And then McConkey kind of being the underrated number 1 receiver, but it's so crafty. They have so many different things. But at the end of the day, the Chargers' ability to be able to be a physical football team because they have upgraded the backfield and they will be committed to the running game with a quarterback that, look, man, Harbaugh touts him at every turn. He's special. He's a franchise. He's a beast. All the effusive adjectives that he's used to describe Justin Herbert, they have one of those. Now it's what you're saying. Herbert just owning those superhero powers and letting them shine. Being okay with being a little more, as you say, like Josh Allen-like. Well, hey, man, I'll take over the game when I need to. He has all the tools. He just has refused to kind of crack open the thing every now and then to do it. But, hey, man, break the piggy bank. Let's let some of that come out. Because if he does that, the Chargers become a very, very dangerous team.
Yeah, no question, including the run there to seal the game with a sweet little baseball slide there to wrap that game up. Mahomes, by the way, seeing him down there in person on the field before the game, he looks leaner. That's as well as I've ever seen him move. He played really, really well. I mean, they got a little grief early in the game that cost them in terms of just not taking what was there. Worthy goes out. They don't have Rashee Rice, so they're shorthanded there offensively. But I thought in terms of some of the plays he made, but more so just how he moved, Mahomes is going to have a very big year for the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, quickly, Buck, go ahead. One more on that one?
No. I was going to say this. It's funny that we're seeing that, right? Because I felt like Pat Mahomes looked good, and there's been a lot of attention on what he's done in terms of conditioning, but Dak Prescott, too. Also,
that's where I was going next.
Getting lean, getting fit, that's been a big part of it. We rarely talk about quarterbacks and fitness and conditioning, but it matters. And we're seeing some of the best in the business really double down on making sure that their bodies are right as they head into the season.
That's why I was going to go with the last one, because that was the other game we didn't get a chance to visit on, and that was the opener with Dallas and Philly. Jalen Hurts, making the plays that need to be made, using his legs, whatever it takes. That defense up front is young, fast, and physical. Jalen Carter doesn't play. I thought that impacted them for the first half, and then they kind of settled in defensively. I did think it was interesting when you look at an issue that popped up at corner, and they were getting attacked there with Adoree Jackson, and then all of a sudden, we're recording this on a Monday morning, and there's reports they were looking at bringing in a nickel. I think was it Hilton? Was it Mike Hilton? I can't remember who it was, but bringing in someone that would then kick Cooper DeJean outside. But I mean, look, the Eagles they're not, labeled the smartest organization in the NFL for no reason. They know that was a problem, and they're going to have to try and address that.
Yeah, I mean, look, here's the thing. I don't think anybody had on the bingo card that Adoree Jackson would be a starting cornerback for the defending champions. Like when you bring him in, you're thinking about veteran depth, sub packages, nickel, dime, quarter situations where he comes in as part of a 5, 6, 7 defensive back package. And what they found out quickly is, hey, we can't have him on the island as a 1 or 2. Kicking Cooper DeJean back outside where we've seen him have some success. He can have success inside, but it makes sense to me. Those young athletic corners that they've invested in, man, put them on the field, let them do it because they're good enough. Vic Fangio will figure out a way to make sure that they're playing to their strengths. This team has it all. And even when they didn't have their A game during our coronation night, they're still plenty good enough to be able to win. And that is scary for the rest of the league.
Yeah, we'll get to it later in the week. I think Mayock, we're going to have Mayock on to talk a lot about that Chiefs-Eagles game that's coming up. That's going to be a lot of fun to watch that contest coming up this next weekend. But what a great weekend of football. One more game tonight. We will discuss that on tomorrow's show as well as Rhett rejoins us. We'll do the rookie draft. We'll hit on these games we did not hit on today. But man, what a treat, huh? Having Baldy with us on Mondays. It's next level, man. It's fun to be able to dive into these games.
I mean, it was a lot of fun. Baldy's great. He's terrific when it comes to like taking what he's able to see on film and explain it. I just love that conversation. I think it not only makes us smarter, I think it makes everyone who listens in smarter because that's a real ball conversation.
Yeah, if you've made it all the way to the end of the episode today, then you enjoyed it. And if you did enjoy it, I would encourage you, leave us a rating, leave us a review. We don't ask you to do that very often. We've been doing this show for over a decade, but every now and then I like to remind folks, hey, let's help get the word out there. It's a fun show to be a part of. It's a fun show to do. Hopefully it's a fun show to listen to as well. We will see you tomorrow right here on Move the Sticks.